Hi guys, it's becoming more and more obvious that the people who helped create this disaster are washing their hands of the situation and instead demanding more and more be done by those who are left to pick up the pieces. We keep hearing about how those who threw bricks at police or attempted to burn down hotels housing asylum seekers need to be listened to because they have so-called legitimate concerns. Of course, the Tories who have weaponised migration for political means are attacking the government now for not coming up with solutions. James Cleverly, the Shadow Home Secretary here, criticised Keir Starmer for cancelling his holiday late in the day and not organising Cobra meetings straight away. But the host here, Eamon Homes, believes the rioters should be negotiated with. Thankfully, James shut down such a ridiculous idea.
Just first of all, your reaction to the scenes we've seen over the weekend.
Well, the scenes that we've all witnessed, violence against police officers, violence against community facilities, violence against places of worship, mosques, arson, all these things are completely unacceptable and they cannot and must not be justified. The people who are perpetrating this violence need to be brought to justice. When the government takes appropriate action, we will support them, and when they have been slow off the mark, as I fear they have been, it was only yesterday afternoon we found out that Keir Starmer was going to cancel his holiday plans. Cobra is only meeting today.
Okay, when it comes to Cobra meetings, we have to remember that Boris Johnson missed seven or eight, I don't remember, between 7 and 8 Cobra meetings at the beginning of the pandemic. So you don't get really to criticise Keir Starmer for not organising a Cobra meeting straight away. At least he's going to the Cobra meeting as opposed to Boris Johnson, who refused to go to them.
After many days of violence and disorder, why did Cobra not meet last week to make the decisions about mutual aid, support for police officers, extra funding, coordination across government departments? The Labour Party have got to get used to the fact they are no longer in opposition. It's not just about what you say, it's about what you do, and they have been slow off the mark.
Now, yes, you're right. They're no longer in opposition, but they're finding a situation which is an absolute disaster. You, or your party, over the last 14 years, closed police stations. So when the police officers go out and arrest people and want to hold them in cells, well, there aren't enough cells to hold them in because police stations have been closed by the Conservative Party. So Conservative governments have made the situation more difficult for the new government when it comes to actually holding people. And we already know that prisons are already overflowing. So this is also another disaster that the Tories have left the new government.
It's interesting when you say what you do, James. What about bringing these people who are rioting, who obviously have a grievance, and the grievance is not one that's just concerned in one part of the country, it's widespread. Why not bring these people around the table? Should they be...
Okay, thankfully James Cleverly isn't as stupid as we imagine, and he actually has a decent response to this, but just bring rioters around the table. Why would you do that? I can't think of a more absurd idea. So the people who are throwing bricks and pieces of wood and pieces of masonry at police officers, those who are trying to burn down hotels hosting asylum seekers, those people should be brought to some table and they should be negotiated with. Are you insane? Are you literally insane?
Be talked to or not?
Well, the people perpetrating violence, there is only one appropriate response. Behaving badly does not buy you a seat at the top table. Behaving in a violent manner, attacking police officers, perpetrating arson, that does not buy you a voice at the top table. Now, there is a discussion, a legitimate discussion that needs to be had about immigration, about asylum, about race relations.
Okay, we're coming back to this once again. There needs to be some sort of discussion. We've been having this discussion for the last 10 years, more than 10 years, before Brexit, talking about immigration day in, day out. And Nigel Farage, of course, was able to say, look, if we leave the European Union, we'll be able to bring down immigration. And the Conservative Party at every election talked about bringing down immigration. And even Labour jumped on board that bandwagon. So at what stage do we need to start talking about immigration? Because we haven't stopped talking about immigration.
I gave a speech on this issue in New York at the Carnegie Institute in the margins of the United Nations earlier this year, when I said governments internationally need to work better together to deal with criminally facilitated illegal migration, to make sure that we do not allow this conversation to be dominated by extremist voices. That still needs to happen. But the immediate response to violence and disorder and arson has got to be a criminal justice response.
Once again, dealing with the symptoms, not the problem. The problem is that governments have used immigrants as a scapegoat over the last number of decades. And I'm not even just talking about the Tory party. We're talking about governments all over the world. Problem? Find a scapegoat. Immigrants are an easy scapegoat. And of course, if you're blaming immigrants all the time and you have right-wing newspapers blaming immigrants for everything, then of course people with a very low IQ are going to see, then the problem is the immigrants, so let's trash the place. We see some immigrants driving a car, pull them out and beat them up. We see immigrants running a shop, destroy the shop. How are you supposed to negotiate with those types of people? You can't. What needs to happen is the people at the top who are spreading this information need to be dealt with, be them in the media, be them in politics, be them commentators. They have to be dealt with because that's where the rot starts. There needs to be reform of the media. Politicians need to be held to account when they post stuff like this on social. I had suggested that MPs should not have access to social media. Can you imagine if Nigel Farage couldn't access social media? This would take a lot of the heat out of the discussion. Wouldn't take it all out. It would probably be filled by some other actors. But it would stop allowing him to take advantage of this situation. Because he's not adding anything. He's just taking from it. So we need to review the rhetoric at the top. Stop blaming immigrants. They're the victims in this situation. But once again, we're coming back to this point of the problem is immigration. We need to bring down immigration. We need to deal with immigration. When it's the bad actors that are not interested in solutions, just creating problems that need to be dealt with. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.